Troubleshooting PC Hardware by Carla Ruiz for CTS 220 Final. How to identify hardware issues. You want to start by checking POST, which is the power on self-test. One of the first things to pop up in a computer is usually this. It appears right before the operating system will begin to load. Secondly, the OS, the operating system, is taking longer than usual to load. There are odd sounds whenever you turn on your computer or when it's running. And of course, as we all know, the blue screen of death has appeared. These are just some way to identifying that you are having hardware issues. Some of the most common hardware problems include computer won't turn on, sudden shut off while you're on the computer, and downloads taking a lot of time to download. The first hardware problem we are going to tackle is when the computer is not turning on. So whenever you're going on the computer and you're pressing the power button but nothing happens, what do? First, you want to check and make sure it's not the monitor. Even though this sounds very common sense, it's very overlooked by even professionals and of course ordinary people. You want to make sure that there's not an issue with the monitor. You can definitely try plugging in another one and seeing if the other monitor that was there at the beginning is the issue once you plug in the second one and see that it's actually turning on. The second thing is the plug in which the actual hardware is connected into. Sometimes the actual wall plugs can be the issue. You also want to check that. There's another very common sense thing. If neither of these work, you can definitely look into the PSU, which is a power supply unit. After a while, they do tend to burn out and another one is needed. They're very inexpensive and fairly easy to replace. So that's something you can do yourself without having to go to a store or a software store that can fix that for you. The second hardware problem, sudden shutdown. While you're in the computer in the middle of an assignment or in the middle of whatever it is you're doing, and all of a sudden your computer shuts down, it creates a very frustrating moment. Things to check and do for this issue are: did you accidentally press the power button on the tower? This is actually a personal experience that happened at my workplace with a coworker. She claimed for about a month or two that her computer was shut down every day unexpectedly. It was out of nowhere. We called the IT department. They fixed this and that. They even got a new tower. They did everything they possibly could think of. They switched the plug, absolutely everything. Well, one day when it happened again, the way her foot was resting, the tip of her shoe was actually the one that was clicking the power button off. It would press the power button and it would just cut off all of a sudden in the middle of everything. She finally realized that all this time, these 1 or 2 months, she was actually doing it herself and it wasn't an actual hardware issue. The second thing is overheating. It is very common, but again, another thing that's overlooked by even professionals. There are a lot of different ways to avoid this. You can buy a actual fan that is designed for towers, or you can just get a regular fan, a desktop fan, and put it near the tower and just make sure everything heats that everything cools down. Hardware issue number 3, downloads take a lot of time. When you're trying to download anything from the internet or from wherever it is that you're trying to download something from, it takes an exorbitant amount of time. Although this could be very well a software problem, it is worth saying that it can as well be a hardware problem. If you have a wireless computer, you're using a router and a laptop, and you live in an apartment complex, which is in my case, someone could be feeding off of your Wi-Fi, thus causing the connection to be slower, and that obviously will make the downloads slower. You can definitely try changing the password on your router, or you could buy a faster router if it's very secure and you don't think no one is leeching off your Wi-Fi. If you're using a cable connection, the cable might be the issue. They are exposed to different variables. For example, if you have a dog and the dog chews on everything, that could be an issue. Trying changing the cables definitely helps. Another solution that or cause for this could be the computer and how much memory you have left on it. Of course, if you have 32-bit, you know it fills up quicker than 64-bit. You can definitely try changing it. It's a little bit more expensive solution, but that could be an issue. You just have too much stuff in there and it's making everything slower. I did say it can as well be a software issue, like viruses, for example, can also make it go slower. All in all, these have just been a few examples of some hardware issues you might come across and how to fix them. In most cases, a lot of issues that you may be having are just very simple, common sense solutions are required. You definitely want to try and make sure you go through all of them before going to a hardware store or a store that fixes computers, because it can be expensive. And again, most of the time it might be something that you might be able to fix. In no way does this mean if it's something way more complex should you try to fix it. You always want to try to fix accordingly to your level of expertise. That is all. Happy computing.